John, y'all can see that I'm about to introduce Betty Roberts, but one point before we do it, it brings me particular pleasure to introduce one of our own Rotarians, because that's an indication of how involved the members of this club are with the community. So it's a neat opportunity to have one of us speak. Just for your information, Betty is the Media and Public Relations Manager with OneBlood. Previously worked in Organization Development and Human Resources for International Paper, Acting Director Human Resources for Covenant Hospice, Employee Development Specialist at American Synamid. She's worked at West Florida Regional Medical Center, Pensacola Junior College as an Associate Professor of Adult Education. Betty has a MA in History from the University of West Florida, a BS in History from Troy, and working on Education Administration doctoral studies at Nova. You may not know that Betty is involved with the Pensacola Museum of Art, President of the Board of Trustees, Pensacola Opera, Pensacola Opera Guild, Pensacola Symphony Board of Directors, Pensacola Symphony Guild, Pensacola Museum of Art, Rotary, Tiger Bay Club, Pensacola Country Club, Pensacola Yacht Club, Pensacola Navy League. Is there a club here? Is there a club in Muscogee County that you're not on the Board of Directors? And the Florida Association of Blood Banks. Betty, please.
Well, somebody has to do it, as John said, a hard-working woman. Well, but I enjoy it. It is indeed a pleasure to be here among friends and people I really, truly love in the community. And it's indeed a great honor for me to be a member of the Rotary Club. Everywhere I go, when you say, and we always know I'm a Rotarian, that's just like the open door policy to very good treatment. And I've had it here, and I enjoy it, I appreciate it. And I also try to share it throughout the community. And yes, I do support the arts and culture, because along with our business and our military and our education, we've got to have some of those finer touches to keep us interested in. But today I'm here to talk to you about OneBlood, and to kind of tell you exactly who we are and what has happened, why the name change, and where we are as we strategize and go into the future. Let me pick up the clicker. What we are trying to do as OneBlood, and how we got our name, is that we had a merger. We had focus groups throughout the state, the areas of the hospitals that we serve, and they came up with this name. But for us, we want to be the best blood banking company in the world, and particularly for the people here in the state of Florida that we serve. So we want to provide blood that's affordable for patients and our hospitals. Now, on January the 27th, 2012, we had a merger, and we merged with the Community Blood Centers of Florida and South Florida, Florida's Blood Centers, Florida Blood Services, and together we came to be OneBlood. Now, what that also means is that we have sister blood centers that could help us in time of need, in time of a tornado or a hurricane or something, or an ice storm when we couldn't get the Bloodmobile out and about, or the hurricane when trees are down and so forth. So it's good to have friends. And then together we can be more resourceful. I know you probably can't see that, but one of the things that I wanted to point out are our touch points. We're located from southeast Alabama through the Florida Panhandle to South Georgia, a little middle of the state, Tallahassee, and then down the Orlando, St. Petersburg, Miami quadrant. We serve about 200 hospitals, and we've got facilities located all over. Now, we're one of 5 military hubs in the United States, and for us we view that as being very, very important. And that of course means if called upon in time of military need, if the military armed forces blood program cannot supply appropriate blood to our troops, our people abroad, we will be there for them. And since I've been on board with the Blood Center for 10 years now, we have done that a couple of times. So we're very proud to do it. Locally, I would say at this point, we are the sole provider of blood to all of the area hospitals. That would include Pensacola Naval Hospital, Eglin Air Force Base Hospital, Baptist, West Florida, Sacred Heart, going on down the way, Fort Walton Medical Center, hospitals in Destin, also in Panama City, and then on down the way, Tallahassee. My job particularly is to be the spokesperson for this area, and I'm always very delighted to meet people, and as you can see, I'm somebody that really cares about human beings. We're the greatest things we've got, and one thing, when you're a blood donor, you're very, very special to each and every one of us. But we're just I feel personally very good about the organization and with the merger. We've learned from each other. We've taken the best ideas that we all have together and try to make that work. If you take a look at the map there, that's our service area. So we are spread throughout the state, but we work very well together, and it's been a joyful thing. I've always met some of these people at some of the blood banking conferences, so to get together with them has been a delight because I've known them for a long time. There is no substitute for blood. You can't go to the drugstore and get some. It can only come from volunteer blood donors. And if you're someone, or your family, or family member, or friend, or someone's in the hospital, has an accident, whatever, we want to make sure you've got the safest blood possible ready at the blood banks at the hospitals to give to the patients. So we appreciate you showing your power when you donate blood. Now, who can donate? And I know you probably can't see this, but we are regulated by the FDA. They set the guidelines for eligibility. They set the guidelines for deferrals. And so whatever comes down, we have to follow those, and we're very glad to do so. But, for example, you need to be 16 years of age, and we do have parental and guardian consent forms, weigh 110 pounds, have a picture ID, and be in good health. And always, if there's a question, if you can donate or you can't, just give us a call. Somebody will let you know there right at the front desk at our blood centers or on our Bloodmobiles. For example, one of the questions that we're asked today is, if I have a tattoo, can I donate? Well, there are some requirements, and that, again, those are guidelines set by the FDA. Can I donate if I've had cancer? And you can after about 12 months. And then can I donate if I've just had a transfusion? And what that says is also for about 12 months. But we are regulated by the FDA, and we do have our policies and procedures. We do a lot of training with our staff to make sure the blood donor is treated with the utmost customer care, because you're giving of yourself, you're giving your time, and you're also giving to hopefully ensure a lifetime of happiness and goodwill for someone in the hospital. Now, how and who do we treat? Accident victims. And I know you probably all know, because many of you are blood donors in the room, and I've seen you before, but there is one blood type that is the universal blood type, and that's always what we need, because you can never get enough of that, because only about 7% of the people in the United States have this particular blood type. Does anybody want to answer me and tell me what it is? O negative. O negative. O negative. Now, I have to keep saying that because you didn't hear me real good all these years. But anyway, O negative is the universal blood type. And if you think about it, if you should go to the emergency room and you're, let's say, ill or whatever, you're not in an accident, but you get your blood tested, it's got to go to the lab, it's got to come back, and that takes time. But if you're in an accident and you're bleeding and you need blood, you need the blood that you can be given right away, and it's O negative. So we're always in need of O negative. But who needs blood? Cancer patients, open heart surgery patients, burn, bone marrow transplants, sickle cell anemia, premature babies, liver transplants, orthopedic surgery. And one thing that I learned after coming to the blood center, One time I had to have surgery, and this was before I worked at the blood center, and the doctor said, okay, well, we'll set this up in 2 or 3 weeks, and you need to go to the lab for blood. And I had no idea what that was. But I did find out the lab work meant they were going to test my blood to find out what type I had, and then also find the blood type that would match me if I needed it. And I never thought about that. I go to the lab for lab work, but why? Somebody somewhere in the community had blood ready for me should I have needed it. I didn't, but that's good to know, and that's something that I learned. That's why it's so important. Now, with every unit or pint of blood that we take, we perform about 14 different tests. It goes through a period of about 18 hours of testing. And these are all FDA regulated tests. Again, our mission is to try to provide the very safest blood we can to the patients, because it's going to go to somebody that is immunocompromised in some way, and we want to make sure we can do our best. And at the same time, we never know, it may be one of us. So that's why our staff is very engaged in doing the very best that they can. But those are a listing of the tests. You can check that on our website at www.oneblood.org. I have a lot of information there. Now, let's just think about it. How many times can I donate? Well, you can donate every 56 days. If you give platelets, you can donate every 2 weeks. We have automated blood donations, and then we have the regular type that just takes maybe 5 to 7 minutes when the needle is in your arm. We have a lovely staff. We had somebody in at a blood drive on Friday who was scared to death the first time he had donated. And he was the football player type. And we took special care because we talked to him, we laughed, we smiled, and he managed to get up and walk away happily. So it doesn't make any difference. People are scared of needles, but we try to do it. And if you think about why you're doing it, it's very, very important. With each blood donation, we do a wellness check. We take a health history, and we check your pulse, your blood pressure, your temperature, and also give you a cholesterol screening. If you're a first-time donor, within a few hours, we'll also have your blood type. You could even have your own page with all of your statistics on the day that you donate, and also what your cholesterol screening is, so that you can keep a good record of your health. Now, we are very happy that the community supports OneBlood, because it is through a planned blood drive schedule through the schools, through the businesses, organizations, the churches, the universities, the colleges, and the military, that we're able to meet the needs of our community, the needs of our hospitals. And for us, we don't want that call that there's no blood or there's no blood type. Just recently, I walked in the blood center donor room, and there was a gentleman. I do stories, so special stories, and we had gotten throughout the United States a call from the Halifax Medical Center, and of course I only know where one Halifax is, and I checked it out, and that's in Nova Scotia. And this particular gentleman here in Pensacola had a rare type of blood. He was on vacation, scheduled to come back in 3 or 4 days. He came back immediately, and we got the blood to that young child. Well, that is a miracle when something like that happens, and we have the technology and the information to keep that on record and to search throughout all the blood centers to make a special match. Now, going on a little bit further, I would like to say that I really appreciate all of you who are connected with businesses and schools in the area for setting up blood drives with us. That's the only way, is to be diligent every day and keep the Bloodmobile out 4 or 5 places, do blood drives on the, on the weekends, and have our big red bus out and about. And that is a marketing trademark that we have, which is the big red bus. So if you see it, it's us. We always try to give a thank you gift, which could be a t-shirt. We have people that have made t-shirt blankets and quilts. We have t-shirts for some people every day of the week, so they have their own wardrobe, but we're happy to do that and happy we get some supporters. Now, the donation process I just went on, some of the local blood centers, one is located at 1999 East 9 Mile Road, across from Baptist Medical Park. And then we have 2209 North 9th Avenue. We have a center in Crestview, we have a center in Fort Walton, and one in Panama City. And we stay very, very closely involved with those blood centers. But my job expands into Tallahassee and also into South Georgia, Southeast Georgia. That particular lady right there is the PR lady of the Blue Angels. And if you can remember, we had that sequestration, or whatever that new word, old word, some of us knew a long time ago. And for the first time, we got to go out to the Naval Air Station and go to the Blue Angels. Of course, the guys themselves, that were the pilots, didn't donate, but it was indeed a joy to be on the runway with the Blue Angels while they were doing some of their practicing. And then we also did that great picture. I said, could we have the big red bus at the end of, like nose to nose with the one of the Blue Angels? And of course, they were accommodating because I did ask it sweetly. And we have that picture, which is absolutely fabulous. But it was wonderful to meet with them, and since then, they've held blood drives with us. Now, if you look at those pictures, many of you probably saw on Facebook of a child about 5 years old, Carolyn. And on Facebook it said, "Praying for Carolyn." And her parents are lovely, lovely people. He's in the landscaping business. She was a former teacher. But I went to the hospital, went to Sacred Heart and visited with them for about 4 or 5 hours. And I said, what happened? And they said, well, Carolyn had this little stomachache. And she kept complaining and complaining, and so we took her to the doctor, and after examination they found a tumor. And it was a tumor right involved in her rib cage, and it was removed, and she needed a lot of blood. And so for some of you who are platelet donors in here, I'm sure you probably contributed to her well-being. And I just happened to check Facebook page last night, and she's 5 months out of all of the treatment. Her hair is growing out, and you can see, if you look at that, you came to the Pensacola Museum of Art, we had a day for Carolyn there, and she had a good time. You see the Blue Angels down there, a great opportunity for us. And then on the left, you probably can't see, but that's our beloved Superintendent of Schools. Malcolm, are you here somewhere? I thought I maybe saw you. And Malcolm does a wonderful job, especially with the schools, but especially with blood donors, because having a blood drive at Washington High School, which is where that was, they have a very special program whereby they've got an entire advisory group team. One of the teachers, Mrs. Ross, is in charge of it, and you would just be so pleased to see them. They dress up in their suits, their blazers, and they are just the greatest in customer service and marketing. Do a fabulous job, and we thank you. And not only do we get gifts from the community, but for about 6 years we've had Jessica Lee give a car away, which brought in lots of people extra in the summer. And people who want it, we've had a military guy at Hurlbut, we've had 2 military people at NAS, someone at the Court of Justice, but we've been just very appreciative, and we appreciate her. And tomorrow, if you've been watching Channel 3, WAR-TV, Bob Tyler, soaring through the skies there, is having a blood drive. So we can't thank everybody enough for what you do. And I would also say that I was very fortunate last week. I went out to NAS and happened to go to MATSI, Marine Aviation Training Supply Group, and saw all of these great Marines, guys and gals, and they did really great participating in our blood drive. And I had some good conversation, and I wanted to share something that I heard with you and someone that I met. But I would like also just to read something really very quickly. A gentleman that several people know in the community sent me this, but I thought it was particularly good because I thought it was humorous. My name is Jim, and I'm a hero. It says so right here on my shirt. Personally, I think the word hero is too frequently bandied about. overused in this day and age, but I'm willing to make no exception in my case. By definition, a hero is someone described as brave and courageous, having made the ultimate sacrifice for the good of their fellow man. I might amend that a bit to say that a hero is one who goes above and beyond to save lives. By my definition, therefore, I am a hero. You see, not to pat myself on the back, well, maybe a little bit. I save lives. I do this by donating blood products regularly at OneBlood Pensacola. To date, I've given over 60 gallons or 500 units and plan on continuing to do so as long as I'm able. It's become a passion for me. My reason is to hopefully convince you, if you're not already, to become a donor. And I thought about that when I read it. You wear that t-shirt and it says, be a hero, or I am a hero, and you are a hero when you're a blood donor. And I would like to introduce someone that I met last Thursday that went to a blood drive, not only just a blood drive, but one that was also Be the Match. And this is where you swab inside the mouth and you become a bone marrow match and go into a bone marrow registry. And then you might be called upon to be the match for someone. And I'd like for you to welcome Gunnery Sergeant Nick Knight.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Betty, and thank you for the Pensacola Rotary for allowing me to come out here and talk. My name is Gunnery Sergeant Knight. I am the Squadron Gunnery Sergeant for Aviation Maintenance Squadron 1, which is one of the squadrons that falls under MATSIC 23 and 21 that Betty was mentioning earlier. I'm also one of the co-blood donation coordinators for both MATSIC 21 and 23, so I interact a lot with OneBlood. The minimum wait time between donations is 56 days, so about every 60 days they come out to the NAS and bring 3 or 4 of the big red buses and allow our young Marines and our young staff members to donate blood. Now I say allow because these young men and women who volunteer to serve, they will do anything and everything they can to give back to the community. And one of the easiest ways to do that besides volunteer work is to donate blood. Any given time, we'll donate between 100 to 250 units of blood in a single day. These lovely people come and feed them pizzas and sodas, and I have to run the next day. My story for the bone marrow, which I really appreciate y'all letting me come talk about, because I know it's not a very well-known thing in the United States, and I know that only 2% of people in the United States are actually on a bone marrow registry. About 8 years ago, I was a sergeant stationed out at a Marine Corps Air Station Miramar in San Diego, and we were at a blood drive. Well, at the same time, the staff sergeant out there had been diagnosed with leukemia, and they were trying desperately to find a match for him. It was very aggressive. So they came in, they did cheek swabs, there were several people who volunteered. I wasn't matched for him, never really heard anything about what happened to him, but about 8 years later, going to last July, I got a phone call from the C.W. Bill Young DOD Bone Marrow Organization, which is a DOD affiliate of Be the Match. And I had been type matched to a young man, 17 years old, somewhere in the United States. That's all they would tell me. Due to the rules of the National Bone Marrow Registry, you're not allowed to know who the recipient is for at least a year. There was about 30 of us total who were type matched, and they said, will you please just go to the NHP, we will send them a medical kit, they're going to draw some blood, and we're going to do further evaluations, which obviously I said yes. Went there, they drew 9 vials of blood, they sent it off to whoever they sent it off to, and about 9 weeks later I got a phone call saying that not only was I the best match, but I was a 10 out of 10, an exact match for a young man who has acute myelogenous leukemia, which is a very aggressive blood and bone cancer. And at that time they have to ask you again, are you willing to donate? I can't imagine, she says that I'm a hero. I can't disagree more. I would think this is something that anybody would do. I mean, think back to when you were 17 years old. I was hoping to find a prom date. And this young man is trying to survive to go to prom. So for me, it was a no-brainer. It was an absolute yes. From there, the people at the C.W. Bill Young and Be the Match took over. They set me up with a physical at Georgetown University. For DOD members, there's only 2 places you can go. Georgetown and Balboa in San Diego. I spent 13 years stationed in San Diego, so I wanted to go check out DC. So they sent me up there. I did a physical. They go through this very, very rigorous chest X-rays, EKGs, more blood, and then they had to take an auto unit, which is a pint of blood they're going to give back to me. 2 weeks later, I went over to OneBlood on North Davis. I had to take another auto unit of blood because the amount of bone marrow they had to take from me, which is about 1.5 liters, they had to put the blood back into me to equal out the volume in my body. And then on October 30th, I went into Georgetown University. They drilled 47 holes in the back of my pelvis, took out 1.5 liters of blood. And then hopefully I'll find out next week or so. I'll get an initial evaluation of how well the young man took. That's my story.
Thank you, Nick. That was just very moving, and we certainly appreciate you. So, when you go to blood drives and you give blood, good things come out of it besides just saving lives in the hospital. And I'd like to close by saying, again, I thank you. I thank Nick for being here and sharing your story, and certainly all of our military for what they do, because you save our country and you save us, and you're always ready, and I like that. That's great. I appreciate hearing that. If there are any questions, I'd like to field them. Not, whatever. Chris?
So we wanted to organize a big red bus and come to our office. How many people do you need? How do we do it? Where do we start?
Well, okay, the question is, how do we go about organizing a blood drive? Well, nothing else you can call me, but you need to have, we'd like you to have at least about 20 to 25 people. If it's just one business and you only have 3 or 4 people, then you could maybe look to your neighbors, and we would come and we'll have a community representative come out and do everything for you. Flyers, posters, we'll even do email blasts to people that are in the area so that we can alert them, and we'd just be happy to accommodate you. So just give us a call and we'll set it up, and we'll be there.
Do you still have the Rotary Bloodmobile?
We still have the Rotary Bloodmobile, and I would like to say that about 10 years ago, right before I came to the Blood Center, the combined Rotary of Pensacola gave $75,000 for a Bloodmobile. Bloodmobiles cost right around, about then was $200,000. Now they're close to $300,000. But we do have the big red bus, and if you'll take a look, and I did get this approved by everybody that needed to here, we do have the logo on it. So it's still going around a lot, as well as the Impact Bloodmobile, which we are very grateful for. Yes?
How is the blood supply here in Northwest Florida and in the country in general?
I can't say it's always good. We try to keep at least a 2 to 3 day supply by diligently doing everything that we can. Email blast, posters, flyers, calling people, telemarketing. We have to do all of that, gifts and whatever. We do it on a constant basis. Right now we're doing good, but if we have a big holiday weekend, and there are lots of accidents, and just recently there was an accident in this area where somebody used like about 55 units of blood. Another person used 85 units of blood, and that's when you probably hear from me or hear from Channel 3 or one of the radio stations. Please come in and donate, because we're having to build a supply. So right now it's on a day-to-day basis, but we usually try to keep a 2 or 3 day supply. And again, the wonderful thing about us merging with the other blood centers is that if we didn't have enough for whatever reason, we will call on them and get it here as quickly as possible. But we never get enough to stay. I can remember when I first started working at the blood center, just a quick little story. News Journal was in the summer. A reporter came up, very young, said, "I want to see your blood bank." Well, the doctor, who was the medical director, told me, well, Betty, we hired you, get some blood in here. And I'm like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? Day 2. Well, day 2, the News Journal reporter comes up and he says, I want to see your blood bank. And I said, well, here's your story. And at that time, we walked back where we keep blood on the shelves, and there was like 1 pint of blood. And I said, that's your story. That's what you can help me with, is to appeal to the community to please take a few minutes of your daily life, come by, and give the gift of life. It is needed. So, yes?
I want to mention that the blood bank itself was started by a member of this club in 1948.
Do you want to share just a little bit more, John?
Dr. Warren Payne, along with Dr. Reverend Bloodmobile and a couple of the Navy corpsmen who had experience, opened the blood bank on North South Fox Street in the spring of 1948.
That's good. I didn't leave that in here, but I think I appreciate you telling me that. But we've been in business here over 60 years, and cannot say thank you enough. And it's just a continuous, it's got this continuous improvement all the time, which is to do better and meet new faces and bring in more blood donors. And so you can be an ambassador if you can't donate blood, and find us somebody or hold a blood drive. We'd be happy to see you.
Betty, thank you so much for that. That was awesome. And Nick, I'm glad I didn't have to speak right after you spoke, so that was amazing. Thank you very much for being here. Bob, thanks for putting together the program. I was going to donate and thought that gangster tattoo thing was going to get in the way, but not good, okay. Hey, one more thing. Malcolm, congratulations on AK Suter and the Marette Company for building that. I ride by it every day. I just want to go, because there was a time when they looked at closing that school, and I know you worked hard to take an A school and not close it and expand. It's just beautiful. Thank you. Next week is our Christmas program. We'll have the Rotary Rooters entertaining us, so please come and enjoy. I want to thank all those that helped today. Mike, again, stepping in for the raffle. Sean for being up there for prayer and pledge. Madison for sunshine, and don't forget about blood or ringing the bell. So see somebody and volunteer. Thank you.